Alright guys, so do ENFJs have a holier than thou attitude? And if you do think that they do have that attitude, why are ENFJs like that? So, this is something that I've been told before. This is something that I've heard about ENFJs. And I kind of wanted to break down with the cognitive functions why it is that way. ENFJs value introverted intuition and introverted thinking. And whenever they get to the point of sharing their ideas, it takes a lot for them. It's not like how ENFPs with extroverted intuition and extroverted thinking can just throw idea out there. Or INFPs are also that way. For an ENFJ, for them to get to the point to share an idea means that they've been refining it with their introverted intuition and their introverted thinking for a long time. They have probably told themselves, oh, you're dumb for thinking that, oh, you shouldn't share it, oh, people aren't going to want to care about what you have to say, oh, your idea is going to cause this group of people to disagree and this group of people to agree. Because with our extroverted feeling, we're aware of how when we share ideas that there's going to be an emotional effect. And it is hard to get to that point where, you're like, you know what, I choose my idea. I want to share my idea. And especially since there's been a long refining process that goes through it before it even gets to the point of sharing. So we can get very attached to our ideas. It's not like, you know how people say, oh, I'm not married to that idea or whatever. Like, ENFJs are pretty much married to their ideas. And that could be a good or bad thing. On one hand, it makes them pretty confident in their point of view because that confidence can allow you to go out there and take action based on your idea. Whereas an ENFP or INFP might be able to throw ideas around, but they might not be able to trust them enough to act on that idea. Or, I don't know, like they might have two completely opposite ideas sort of going on in their head as possibilities, whereas an ENFJ is going to pick one that they agree with, and they're going to stand by it as their identity. And you see, it's also sort of the fact that inferior introverted thinking is insecure of itself. We don't have strong extroverted thinking, and so everyone else besides FJs, whether they value extroverted thinking or they're just a thinker and can at least understand extroverted thinking land, everyone else but FJs is able to sort of have this sort of mental everyone who has better TE than an ENFJ or an ESFJ is able to sort of know if things are true based on if they sound true or if the effect is that it's true. I can't really explain it because you see I don't have this in my cognition. People who use extroverted thinking have this very external process of deciding if something is true or not. So for me, as an ENFJ, with my introverted feeling, I myself can think it's true, but whenever I say it out loud, I don't know if it sounds true or if it is conveying the truth that I feel in my head. Because I don't have that that's not what I perceive. Yeah, people with extroverted thinking, they will be able to see your logic whether or not they agree with you because they can sort of see logic externally out there. So that's another aspect for ENFJs is that once they get to the point to share their idea, not only is it that it took so long and they're emotionally attached to that idea, but also because they don't know how it sounds. They don't know if it's ringing true to people. They don't know if their logic is speaking for itself. all you can see, all an ENFJ will notice is how people react. If they're mad at you, if they're not mad at you, if they have biases, if they don't have biases. We aren't going to notice if our logic is making sense. And also, whenever we do have an idea that we believe, we don't know how to spell it out for you. Just like how extroverted feeling is good at spelling out their feelings for you and explaining what they feel clearly, extroverted thinking is good at explaining their thought process out loud. I thought this, and then I got to here, and then I got to here, then to here. And so no matter what, even if you're a feeler, you're an FP, anyone that uses extroverted thinking, when they explain themselves, their thoughts are going to seem more linear, whereas that introverted part is going to be kind of a mystery. So just as people who use introverted feeling will be offended if you sort of question their motive, if you question their integrity, you can sort of see them get triggered if you question their introverted feeling. FE and TI users, especially FJs, are going to get very triggered if you question their thought process, or if you think that they don't have a thought process. Because for us, it's so clear to us in our heads, but it's so hard to get out. Now, if you are a FI user, specifically FP, I have a feeling it's going to be a lot of NFPs watching this, and you're looking at me and you're having trouble relating because you notice, hey, I know and ENFJs do this and it's annoying to me. They always seem holier than thou. They always are so arrogant when they disagree with me. If you're an NFP and you're watching this, or if you're any sort of FI user, I want you to think about how it feels when people misread your emotions. Because for an FI user, if someone misreads your emotions, that's very painful. And I want you to know that that's how it feels when my logic is not getting across clearly. Or I feel like I'm dumb, or that, I'm bad at explaining myself, or that no one's ever gonna understand me and the way I see the world. It is painful. It is not a matter of wanting to be right or wanting people to agree with me. It's a matter of wanting to feel understood. And whenever you try and explain yourself and it's not getting through, then that's just a very lonely experience. It's not about convincing the other person to go in your camp, in your belief. It's about wanting to feel understood. And if you notice that there's an emotion on top of someone trying to explain their thought, and you might think that that is because they're so emotional they want to be right. And maybe that's true for some people, but for me, you're noticing an emotion flare up because an ENFJ feels lonely whenever they are trying to express and they don't feel like it's getting heard. People who can understand my point of view but agree to disagree won't see that emotion flare up in me. But people that are misreading me and treating me as though I have a different opinion than what I actually do, and when they aren't listening to me and they're talking around me and they aren't talking about the words I said and they're talking about things that they think I implied, that is when I get hurt because I feel misunderstood. Another thing about ENFJs seeming holier than thou is that NI and TI is very fixed. It's very ideological. ENFJs are very ideological people. And we don't like to hold multiple theories or multiple points of view as true at the same time. That is what extroverted intuition and extroverted thinking does. Now, anyone can understand that there are paradoxes in the world, but an NJ wants to pick their view and go with it. This is my philosophy. This is my ideology. This is my way of looking at the world. This is my perspective. It's very personal. And if you are questioning that, you're questioning them. It's the same way as someone, if you are a Delta, if you're an ENFP, INFP, ISTJ, or ESTJ, when you question my ideology, it feels just the same as how if someone was questioning your past experience and your emotions about your past experience. For you NFPs out there, with your introverted feeling and your introverted sensing, how does it feel if someone diminishes your past experience and says, "Oh, I bet it wasn't that bad. Oh, you were adopted, so what? Everyone's adopted." What if that was a big deal for you? How hurt would you feel if someone diminished that? I am just as sensitive about my intuition and my thinking as a Delta, who is an STJ or an NFP, is about their feelings and their past experience. That is what I want to get across here, is that that's me. That's my identity. And people's introverted functions are very subjective and very much an identity. People identify with their introverted parts of them. So if someone's questioning how I came to a conclusion or why I think the way I do, I really don't want to explain. I guess the way I see it is some people are with me, some people aren't. And I don't care if you're with me or not, but this is me. My ideas are me. And if you don't accept them, then that's fine. But I don't feel like people just deserve to hear those parts of me, because it's special to me and sensitive to me, and it takes a lot of effort to share. And if you really want to know what I think, perhaps start treating me with respect and curiosity. Maybe I will trust you, and maybe I will have the energy to share. But you're asking me to put my energy onto you, to explain to you why I think a certain thing, when those ideas are precious to me. And if you aren't respecting them, then why should I pull them more out to share with you? It's kind of like how when an NFP or an STJ, even to some extent, anyone who uses FI or SI, if they feel like their emotions are stomped on by an FE user, and an FE user's like, well, how was I supposed to know if you didn't explain your emotions? An NFP or an STJ is going to say, well, I'm not going to explain my emotions when you clearly stomped on the times that I did share part of my emotions. The thing is that for both introverted functions, or for every introverted function, if you communicate it halfway, then people aren't reacting to the full thing. They're only reacting to the halfway. And this is how I am with introverted feeling users. If they only show a little bit of their emotion, and I'm like, you don't care, and they're like, oh, I do care, I wouldn't know if you cared unless you acted like you cared. And so it's sort of a similar thing. And we all have introverted functions and we all have extroverted functions. So this is a balance that each of us as individuals need to understand. So I hope that helped a little bit. ENFJs can seem holier than thou because we aren't trying to change your perspective. Other people are trying to change ours, it seems like. When I would so much rather people just say, oh, that's your ideology, that's your philosophy, and accept it. But I don't have to adopt your philosophy if I don't want to. And that's something that's very special and, kind of like a secret part of me that I don't share with everyone, is my personal philosophy on life. And if you question an ENFJ when they're sharing their philosophy of life, they're like, we're trying to find like-minded people That's like what we're all about. Whereas an NFP with FI and SI really wants to find someone who will accept their emotions and accept them no matter what past experiences they've gone through, and understand their quirks and their FI and SI completely deeply. I want to be around people who respect and are on the same wavelength as me with my ideas. And so if you don't agree with my idea, just stop engaging with me. Because unless you're curious about me, I'm not gonna change. I'm not gonna budge. ENFJs can be very stubborn in this way, but oh yeah, one last thing to address is that the holier than thou thing, it seems that way, but ENFJs, it's like, I'm not better than you, I'm not smarter than you, I just prefer my ideology, and I love my ideology. I love it more than yours. I think it's better than yours because it's mine. And I would hope that FI and SI users would understand that that's how they feel about their family with their FI and SI. They're not saying that their family is better than your family. They're just saying, I love my family with my FI more than I love yours. Is that holier than thou? No. Introverted functions are very specific and subjective and personal to that person. Whenever I am standing strong in my ideology, yes, I think my ideology is the best ideology there is, because it's mine and I get to. So I hope that makes sense a little bit. I really think that this is honestly a thing that happens with NFPs a lot, especially those that are really close to me, because they're the ones that will set me off more, where people that aren't close to me don't set me off because I don't care. But whenever I care about someone, then this hurts. Anyway, I hope that this made sense a little bit and was interesting, and have a wonderful day.